I want to start this conversation by mentioning that Larry and I were here, well, only in London, at the very same reception I think 4 years ago when we were here as students, as many of you are here today. And the way that began is I received a letter in the mail, inviting me and said, oh, just come join us in London. There's going to be, Mikhail Gorbachev is going to be there, Shimon Peres, Madonna. There was a long list of celebrity names. And the first thing I thought was, we really need to do something about junk mail in this country. And I was about to... And I was about to start a new line of products coming out of Google to deal with that issue. But somebody kindly decided to actually check this out before I disposed of it so quickly. And in fact, it turned out to be real. And we came to London and had a great time, met many people, many of whom are back here today and for this weekend, and I'm having a great time seeing again. It was very inspiring. There were many people there who had accomplished an incredible amount in their lifetime, and it was hard to imagine how we could contribute in the same way. But we've tried to do our best. Most importantly, though, I was impressed by the plates. Because when you were honored by the Academy, you receive a really nice plate, and I thought those would go really well in my dining room with the primary colors. And so we spent the past 4 years trying to build something successful enough that we could earn these plates too. And now that I think we've done it, we haven't gotten them in hand yet, but I think we're more or less done. So I'm planning to go back and finish my degree now. My PhD. I was on leave of absence, and as my mother keeps reminding me. There's one minor thing I realized before I go back, and it's been my experience now from being at a company that has grown and is viewed differently in the world than was when we were a smaller company. People don't really like big companies. And I pondered, how do you address that issue? Because you don't want to be disliked. And I think the real issue is not is it unfair that people kind of expect so much out of big companies and watch them so closely and so forth. The question is, what is the company really doing with all of its vast resources to make the world better, to actually do positive things in the world? And I think then people won't be focused on digging deep into particular, well, what are the results for this particular query? In our case, for example, people say, oh, this search result, we don't like result number 3 in this search, and that can get a lot of attention. I think that a company like Google with okay resources financially, not that big compared to many other companies, but nice technical resources, a lot of distribution, a lot of users, things like that. I think we have the potential to make very big differences, very big positive differences in the world. And I think we also have an obligation as a consequence of that. One thing we started last summer, about a year ago, was the Google Grants program, which gives advertising credit on our network to nonprofits. And that's now grown close to 300 charities that we're supporting. And it does a lot of good things. I get notes the other day. We learned that there was a new school for young schoolgirls that was being built in Indonesia for underprivileged girls. And that was as a consequence of a nice man in Singapore who had seen an advertisement based on a Google search he had done, and now he was sponsoring this school. We also apply to issues of world poverty, health, and inclusiveness in politics, all kinds of, a very broad range of charities that are currently covered by Google grants. We've decided to take this to the next level, and that's going to be the Google Foundation, which we're in the process of forming. And there we're going to be able to put resources beyond just advertising credit into it, and actual financial resources, and also the skill and the technology that we have in our company. It has also been received very warmly by our employees because they feel they can be a part of something that's bigger, that's not just designed to help Google, but really is designed to help the whole world. So that's been a great experience for me. And now I'll give you Larry's take on it.
It's an enormous pleasure for me to be here as well and to talk to so many bright people again. I still prefer actually to hang out with the students though. When Sergey and I met at Stanford, we both thought we were quite obnoxious, and maybe that's still true, but we don't notice as much anymore. But I just wanted to hopefully inspire a bunch of the students. I know I talked to a lot of you last night, and just to, I'm thinking about your research. And Google really is interesting because it's an example of pure research. When we started Google, we had no idea what we were, when we started working at Stanford in late 1995, on the web, I wanted to download the links on the web, and Sergey was interested in data mining. And we had sort of no idea really what we were doing. We just thought, the web was interesting and was a good computer science topic, and we could probably get our dissertations to do something that might be practical and might be significant. We tried all sorts of things, most of which failed. And we came up with a better way of doing ranking, which we didn't think would apply to search at all, and then eventually we realized was really useful for search. And I think the takeaway for me in this is that, you should pick areas you think are interesting, that could be valuable, where there's a lot of activity. I was interested in links because I knew no one else was really looking at the links on the web. And I figured, you could probably do something with them. And I think that's true of many of these areas where people do interesting things. I also think it's really important for us when we were working on this. We had many people, Sergey and I and a couple of other people, who worked tremendously hard. And I think that was an important part of making all this work. I had a conversation last night with someone who will remain nameless, but they said, I'm thinking about doing this research in an area, and the work is kind of incremental and the papers are kind of boring, but I'm told that I should publish a lot of papers, and then that way I'll get my degree and I'll graduate. And so I'm thinking maybe I should do this. But there's this other thing I really want to do that no one's working on that I think is much more important. And my advice would be, pick the thing that's important. Maybe it doesn't work out because it's more risky. But you can, your PhD might take a few years, and you can try a number of different of those things. And maybe one of them will work and be a really big deal. So there's so much potential in all of you in the room. My advice would be to work really hard on the things that you think will really matter in the world, and don't be afraid to fail. Thank you.
So it looks like we have about a minute for questions, or Larry can tap dance. Which do you prefer?
I'm just kind of curious. You guys aren't especially far in your life. You've made ginormous amounts of money. What do you guys plan on doing the rest of your life? You've achieved so much already.
Well, I'm still waiting for the plate. That should happen soon.
Okay. What are you going to do after Sunday?
I think, there are many important things to life, aside from financial or career success. And in fact, it's not necessarily the ultimate success that motivates you. It's the process of getting there and the technologies or products that you build or in whatever realms you may be in. So I'm not too concerned about finding something to do. Though I do think it'll be based on doing things that I really enjoy and not have some end goal in mind.
Just really just curious. My name is Alejandra Casillas. I'm from Harvard Medical School. I just was wondering, how'd you come up with the name Google?
So the name Google is a large number. It's 1 followed by 100 zeros. Or as Sergey likes to remind me, though, it was spelled slightly differently. And that was before we had spell checking and those kind of things. And I've never been very good at spelling, so it is the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you.